Welcome, viewer, to The Whole Middle Path, a holistic-related podcast where we just get together with myself, Alexander Zaika, a practicing holistic therapist and shiatsu practitioner, and
Lori MacLeod. You can call me Lori, though. I am a practicing holistic practitioner, registered shiatsu therapist, and I also have spent about the last 30 years teaching holistic medicine. It's been quite the adventure, and I'm continuing to teach. You can find me on Learn It Live. You can also find me on Facebook at Live Better, Live Longer, and those web URLs and whatnot will be in the links below.
beautiful. And you can find me mostly on Instagrams these days by the tag of Owl Nest Stories. But with the topic of today, we're talking everything holistic. What is holistic? Why are we doing it? And why are we here today?
Right on. Well, maybe I can take over for a minute here and talk about what holistic is. Holistic or holism comes from the idea of things joining together. And so holistic doesn't necessarily separate itself from everything else. It becomes part of the whole. That is to say, it's interesting when you think about our podcast here, the whole middle path. A lot of people go to extremes. It either has to be one or the other. And the middle path is really where holism exists. And it comes in by allowing yourself to open up your awareness and broaden into both the yin of things, which is, let's say, Mother Nature, the earth, and all of our ancestral aspects, and then the yang of things, which is the fire. That's our creation. That's all of our technology, all of those things. And when you put them together, they balance each other out. If there's too much of one or too much of another, we get an imbalance. And so holistic medicine is really about bringing balance between that yin and that yang and allowing us in our lives to find balance between things. So I tend to think of the middle path as being the balance that allows us to bring together that really, well, let's face it, we're holding these, that really electronic, fiery age with those things that are natural to us, like our plants and those things that we need to surround ourselves with and find nurturing from. So I think for me, holistic is really about going back to our roots. We are who we are. We're perfect in the way we are because we're holy and divine.
Yes.
And then we bring that into this physical existence, and meshing together that whole aspect of energy and physicality in balance together to lead a healthy life.
And speaking about healthy life, because these days, especially in my own experience, observing what's happening around me right now, there is unprecedented amount of overload on the medical system, especially where I live. And quite an explosion of holistic services as well, of different sorts. So where do we even begin? And how do we find that middle and balanced path among all of that scarcity on the one hand, where there is lack of services, medical services, there's not enough doctors around, from what I'm hearing yet again, and from this crazy amount of other services available of gurus, sound healers, of people who just keep telling you what to do or that they know and they have that answer for us. So how do we go about it?
Well, after 30 years in holistic medicine and actually, growing up with it and going all the way through, if they have the answer, I wish they'd give it to me because I still haven't found it. But I think that's a path we walk, right? We have to walk that path to get to our answers. And you're the only one that's going to know your answers. The interesting thing that you brought up is there is a real lack of medical services. And I think 20% of people have a doctor and 80% don't. So we're looking at a time when these other services are being explored.
Well, I don't have a doctor for sure. So.
Yeah, so walk-in clinic or emergency. And you know what? That actually puts quite a strain on our medical system too, because there's so much out there that we could take control of in our own health that doesn't require medical services. But we have been led to believe that our health is dependent on somebody telling us whether we're sick or not. And I think if you go to extremes on the one with holistic medicine, you can find the guru who says, I'm the only one that has the answer and you've got to follow me. And you're not necessarily going to get there. You're not necessarily going to get to an answer, because they might have the answer that they've found, but that doesn't mean it's the answer you've found. And then on the other hand, we've given up our health to the medical system for so long. You know, the doctor will cure me. And now the medical system is saying, look, there's not even enough of us to see you, much less cure you. And people have given up their power. They've given up their ability to find their center, to find their wholeness by giving their power to these two extremes. Whereas on the middle path, you can find a way to take control of your own health. And to me, that's holistic. If I have a situation that requires the medical system, I can use that. Yes. If I have a situation that requires me to find somebody to deliver services, I can use that. And I can be discerning in that. I can sort of feel in myself what services I need. But for the most part, I'm the one in the middle. I'm the one in control. Yes. And I'm the one that kind of truly knows what I need. I just need to be aware of that power that I hold. So, you know, in terms of that, in terms of the disparity that we're finding, I think that's going to teach us how to take control. It's going to teach us to be more independent. And it's going to teach us to be students and scholars walking this path. We are going to figure out our own answers.
Well, and it's been the most fascinating journey in my life of getting on a path to know myself better.
Yeah.
Because first and foremost, I find that's the best thing one can do for themselves. Absolutely. Is to genuinely learn what is this mechanism of their body, of their existence, of their personal experience in life. How does that affect their entire experience in the world?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, where do people even begin? Because I know you go into a walk-in clinic, you have your 15-minute, I believe, visitation with...
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky with the dog.
5 or 10.
After 6 hours of waiting in the lineup.
Tell me one thing and one thing only, man. I can't handle more.
Yeah, but are we conditioned these days to solemnly rely on Western medicine? Or do we even have trust in ourselves to have our own sense of discernment for our health and the responsibility for it?
That's a really good thought. Like, that really brings me to the idea of what is taking control of your health. Like, what does that actually mean? And I agree. I think a lot of us feel like we've lost control. I don't know. Sometimes I get up in the morning and, you know, if you really sit quietly for a minute and feel what's going on around you, you will reattach to what's called your proprioceptors. These are the nerve endings that are in our skin. They attach to our energetic being. They're the sights and sounds and the smells and the different things that we have, and we're overloaded. Like, we move so fast. So I think one of the things that's really important is slowing down and sitting, choosing a time.
Oh, I love it.
Any time during the day. And this doesn't have to be first thing in the morning. This can be when you're sitting on the bus on the way to work. Choosing one time during the day and just turning everything off around you. You know, no tablets, no phones, put everything on silent and just sit there and really allow yourself to feel what's going on around you. Allow, you know, any of the messages that are coming in, hear the sounds, take in the smells, actually the sights, look around you, pick up a color, pick up something, and then allow yourself to settle into that, because what that does is that actually turns off your adrenals. It separates your mind from the adrenal response of all of this overload going around you.
Yes.
And it heightens your awareness. And once you hit that awareness, you have the ability to start looking inward.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we don't do a lot these days, I think, is we don't look inward. We want to find our ascension, we want to get out of our bodies and get spiritual. Or we want to have our bodies just shut everything down and not feel, not hear, not taste, not smell. And I totally understand that, because when you're overloaded like that, it's just like, make it stop.
Yeah.
Just make it stop. But instead of making it all stop, open up to it. Allow it to be there. Allow your senses to become aware. Once you get that, look inward. Start at the top of your head. Start to move down through your body. Find out where those aches and pains are and what do they actually feel like. And start reattaching to ourselves. I think that's the first thing we do in taking control of our own health, is reattach to our own selves. What does it feel like? Yeah. What is it within us that is good? Maybe not so good, maybe needing more, and your body's going to start to tell you where it needs attention if you can just allow it to tell you.
Well, speaking a little bit more on seeking for solutions externally, or needing that, I guess, a parental figure in some ways, speaking from my own experience for sure, needing to tell me what to do or which decisions to take for my own body, because it was so easy, being a kid, and my mom is like, oh, just do this, take that, here you go, and you're cared, you feel happy, and you feel, and maybe at least having a theory for myself, that so many people maybe a little bit stuck in because I'm still working on that, and I was very stuck in that childlike position of needing for someone to rescue me almost, either finding that guru or master with all of the solutions for my particular case, for my life, or needing a practicing physician, like a general doctor, who can tell me, who can take all the tests and give me all the examples and give me all the pills and all the results that I need to do. And it just kind of makes the life easy for myself, right?
Right.
But where do people start? Is it a habit? Can it be harnessed from within, that sense of self-sufficiency and reliance and trust, that the right tools will appear in the right time if one is on a path to bettering themselves, I guess?
That's a really interesting concept, isn't it? Like, does something come to us, or do we have to go seek it? Is it something that if we sit patiently enough, we're just going to get the answer? Or is it something that we have to be really proactive with? And again, I think those are two extremes. Like, we can either get so proactive that we are spending so much time seeking something that we actually run right past it because we're still seeking. This couldn't possibly be the answer. That was too easy. I'm going to go seek another one. Yeah. And then we've got that thing where we, as you say, it's relatively easy to just sit in place and have somebody else tell you what you need. And what you should do. But if we sit in place too long and there's nobody around, then we cease to exist because nobody's feeding us. Nobody's giving us anything. So I think we got to be in the middle. I think you have to find that space where you feel, first of all, comfortable. If you're really uncomfortable with the idea of somebody always telling you what to do, then you're going to need to figure out what it is you can accept from others and what it is that you need to have for yourself. So, and what do I mean by that? That's kind of an interesting thing, isn't it? Because you might be in that place where nobody can tell me what to do. I'm going to do this on my own. I am going to be adamant about being rigid with my own nutrient needs. I'm going to be rigid with this. I've found the way, and I'm going to be rigid, and nobody can tell me what to do. And that in and of itself is a defense mechanism to probably a deeper need. But what what you might have to start to do is open up just a little bit to listening to what's going on around you. You don't necessarily have to have someone telling you what to do, but listening a little more.
Yeah.
And questioning your own internal needs. And then on the other end, if you just feel completely helpless and you have absolutely no idea of where to go unless somebody says something to you, the first thing you're going to have to do is sit down and say, what is my most immediate need? That's a good way to get started. What is my most immediate need? If I were sitting here right now and I had to think of what it is that I really am wanting or needing right now, pick one thing. Pick one thing and go satisfy that. And when that's satisfied, then ask for the next thing. And slowly you begin to take some responsibility and or some power back. I did realize I was thirsty. I went and got a drink, or I'm not intaking enough fluids.
Yes.
And so again, that goes back to that sitting and being aware. That, it just comes back to that awareness. Same thing with why is it that I'm not, that I'm so rigid in one way and not accepting anything else? Comes back to the awareness. You're going to find those answers within yourself. The easiest way to start is to focus on one thing. Just one small thing.
This is gold.
And allow yourself to just say, what is it about this one thing? And what do I need to do? And that's the beginning. It's the first step. And really, health and wellness is a journey. It's not an end. We don't reach a destination where we're healthy. It's a journey because the world around us is changing all the time. And I always say to people, just when you think you're there, life gets in the way. And you go back to square one. But if you have that ability to keep aware, to see those things and bring them into your life, one at a time, you can take control of your health.
And it's very relatable in many, many ways from what you're saying, especially regarding to my emotions, I found, because it took me a while to harness a proper practice to sit down, to just shush everything out and to truly listen to myself and to even have that sense of discernment of what am I feeling right now? Because it was so wild where I would always bring up, in a way, the identifying it with an action rather than the emotion itself. Like, I want to run away. I want to do this, or I want to hide, but not quite naming it as a proper emotion, not even having, I guess, a tools or a vocabulary to be like, I feel scared, or I feel like I'm overworked, or my body's in stress, and what am I feeling rather than what do I want to do with it? In a way, that conditioning of action was so deeply engraved in my system that it took me quite lots of work of exploration and just really bringing it down, of not needing to take action, but not being in a panic state of being, and just allowing that centeredness and balance, and from that just take it that one step at a time. Okay, well, I drink first, I nourish my body through food, and then I sleep well, and then I address all other things. Well, why am I feeling what I'm feeling right now? For me, that was a great place to start, for sure.
And it is. And there's a really simple Buddhist tenet, and it's called rain. We are, whether we like it or not, we are sensory beings. And our entire nervous system is set up to react. It's set up to discern whether something is safe, whether something is unsafe, whether we need to defend, whether we need to eat, whether we need to rest, digest, run, fight or flight. All of these things are actually innately built into us. So it's almost impossible for us not to react. We have to react. Like that first thing that you're feeling, I want to run away. I got to have action. The important thing once we discern that there is action needed, like your body's going to take in all these signals, and we are overwhelmed by signals right now. So most people, their stress levels are up here. As a matter of fact, stress has become the #1 source of disease and illness in North America. And I think it's climbing to that around the world. So I do know that in North America it's there, but it's getting there around the world. So that is the #1 reason you get sick, stress. And that is kind of the one thing that our Western medicine, for example, is not really well developed to deal with. They like a real concrete thing. You know, if your arm gets cut off, let me put it back on. Yeah. If you need something fixed, I will fix it for you. But what about those things where you simply don't want to be fixed, you need to be balanced? And that comes with our reactions, right? Yes. Reactions cause the organs to change. They cause your blood pressure to change. They cause the circulation to change. They cause so many things to go on physically in your body that you cannot ignore them. The next step is awareness. We come back full circle to the beginning, awareness. Like you said, it's so empowering to be able to say, instead of, I need to run away, why? What is it that I am experiencing right now? I'm experiencing, and putting a name to it is really important. Fear, anger, overwhelm, stress. If we can name it, we all of a sudden have something we can work with. It gives us something physically tangible to name something. So that's your awareness. And then investigation. Well, I know I have fear. What am I going to do with it? There are so many things you can investigate. And that again comes back to, do I choose a medical avenue? Do I need a medication? Do I need meditation? So we've got meditation, medication, right? We've got different avenues, and you need to find the one that works for you. Always saying and questioning, how does this feel for me? Does this work for me? There isn't a one right answer, I don't think. I don't know if you've ever found one. I haven't.
No, not quite. And even in my practice, working with different people and having quite polarized personal opinions before that, I've definitely softened in the past couple of years, where I've met people who, you know, because how does Western medicine deal with stress? It's chemically altering your balance, right? It's just the sort of different suppressants just to calm you down, just to do this and do that. And before I was, you know, I wasn't quite buying it, but I've met so many people that just, if not for those pills, if not for those medications, they would just go insane. But those pills gave them that buffer of sanity, that brief moment to go and seek other services, and to give them that time of some freedom and some kind of peace, sensation of peace, to ground and to seek for other or for better solutions, or for just, you know, not neither positive nor negative, but the solution that works for them. So with that in mind, there's lots of holistic approaches that, because you are my teacher, you taught me plenty of them, and I've been experimenting with tons on my own as well. But if people are lost and confused, because it's been out there for potentially thousands of years, where people been asking similar questions. They've been walking different paths, but it seems like the stories in many of ways repeating themselves. But how do people even start looking into the holistic world? Where, especially living in Canada, where does one start researching where or what they can try? Is it like their intuitive skills? Are there any reputable sources available out there that one can look up and look for practitioners or look for services that are trustworthy?
Well, the first thing that I would say is, once you have gotten to that point where you've identified what it is you need, or what it is that your balance is going to be. And by the way, they call that non-identification. You are not your illness. you are more than that, greater than that. So once you've identified these things, the best place to start looking is to look at the registering associations. They often have lists of different therapeutic practices in holistic medicine that have already found standards. Maybe not regulation, because it's really hard to regulate and specifically say that, you know, as a Reiki practitioner, for example, you must do this, you must do it this way. It doesn't work that way because it's so individualistic. So I would say it's a very, very difficult thing to regulate. But I think you can find some peace of mind if you start looking at associations. So the Natural Health Practitioners of Canada is one of them. Fabulous association. They hold standards. And what that means is they actually set a number of hours somebody might have to study, what types of subjects they study. There is a whole plethora of subjects out there in holistic medicine. The systems that are actually anatomy and physiology, like the chakra system, how it ties into the actual physical body, the organs, the endocrine glands, etc. It's not all airy-fairy out there. There's a lot of science behind it. And these associations like the NHPC or the Shiatsu Therapy Association of BC or the Aromatherapy Association, RAC, Reflexology Association of Canada, they have all got a very specific set of educational standards that people go through and meet so that they understand more deeply how what they're doing is going to interact with the physical body, just like medicine. I mean, you don't necessarily become a surgeon just because you have good hands and you can cut people open. You need to know what you're doing. And I think it's important, even in energy medicine, Shiatsu, which is a great bodywork form, a wonderful alternative that goes really deep into the body, but helps to work on all three levels of physical, mental, and emotional. They all have a background of knowledge to them that you really need to look for. So I'd say that's one of the first steps. The second step is interview your practitioner. You know, just because somebody's a doctor doesn't mean they're going to meet your needs. You know, what are their beliefs? How do they approach wellness? How do they approach health? Interview your practitioner. Ask your practitioner, what is your approach to health? If your practitioner is to say, well, I will fix you, I'm not so sure that's a great approach to health. How do you fix somebody if most of what's happening to them is the world around them and how they're living? So you yank them out of their life and put them in a plastic bubble and all of a sudden I fixed you? Doesn't work that way. So I would say interview your practitioner. Make sure you feel comfortable with them. Make sure that their idea of health is somewhat synchronous with your idea of health. And I would say too, if you're thinking of getting into the field and you want to work in the field, don't go into the field because you want to fix people or help people. Go into the field because you want to offer your services to people. You want to offer something more. You want to offer a road, a path that somebody can follow. And when they're finished with your path, they can walk away. And they can walk away stronger, more in control, and healthier because they're the ones that did it. So I would say those are some ways to start. And, you know, again, I think one of the things that we've talked about before is people will say, okay, well, I can do this, but it's expensive. And how do I deal with that? And I think that's something that is going to come up more and more in the future, but I think we can offer some ideas on that as well.
That would be lovely, actually, naturally coming up to it. With all these associations available, which is, I'm so grateful that these days seeing somewhat regulation in the holistic world allows for health insurance covering plans to be catered and to be developed around those practices where people who choose the paths that are not directly clinical in the sense of Western medicine.
Right.
They can choose services that benefit them the most, like shiatsu or reflexology or Reiki.
Right.
So what's out there in regarding that in your experience? What's available, or do people even have access for their plans, for their benefits, to holistic services?
That is out there. I was just going through this. I go through this discussion a lot with people. And one of the reasons I go through this discussion is because many people find that there is an income hurdle towards being healthy with holistic services. There doesn't have to be. So start thinking about it this way. All health insurance plans are products. They're retail products. The interesting thing about them is they are a retail product they hope you never use. They do not make a profit if you use your benefits. So most benefit companies out there work on kind of like a bubblegum counting machine. So if we get this many clients paying this much money, and only these ones chew the gum, we'll make all this money over here. So they are retail products and therefore can be driven by the consumer. So if you want more health benefits covered, then talk to your healthcare providers.
Pay attention.
Pay attention.
Yes.
In order to get more benefits covered and more coverage, and this is why the NHPC and other associations have been wonderful, because they're lobbying for this. So we know that Sun Life has a plan that will cover shiatsu therapy. We know that there's probably 4 or 5 different companies that the NHPC has that will cover things like Reiki, reflexology, shiatsu. They're in what they call flex plans. So think of it this way, though. It's a retail product. If you want coverage for this, because people who take control of their health are going to use more products, they are definitely going to use more products, so they pay more. So all of these companies have plans in levels. So there's your base level. MSP generally covers most of it, but it might not cover your prescriptions and it might not cover this. So we'll cover those things for you. Now, out of the population, I mean, obviously, of late, more and more people are using prescriptions, so companies had to have lower and lower plans. Now there's caps on everything. We'll cover your prescriptions, but only $300 a year if you pay us $195 a month. Well, think about that. You're paying $195 a month for 12 months. That's almost $2,400. Well, it is over $2,400. And your prescriptions are capped at $300. So they're still making $2,100 from you. So there's other benefits that they're going to offer you. Think about where your health is at right now. Think about what it is in your life that you have going for you, what you can take control of, and what is it that you actually need from these products. You can pay for the flex plan. It's going to be $300 a month. That's $3,600 a year. Or you could take $3,600 a year and put it in a bank account. And you could go and see a practitioner 3 times a month. So that's almost every week. You could go and get some kind of service, some kind of thing. That money is proactive health money. That money is going directly towards services and things that you can do that you are already giving to a company who's taking it. You're not using the services and you just flushed it down the toilet out of your pocket.
It's a big dilemma with
it is a big dilemma.
People coming to see me too, because on average my services go from around 80 to 120 an hour, depending on the service and the complexity of the service. And for lots of people, even though they're blissed out, they're relaxed, they're balanced, they're like, it works for them. But they come out and they're like, oh, but I wish I could have done it more, you know?
Yeah.
Or I wish you had an RMT on staff, or I wish you had
this covered.
Acupuncture, because I have benefits for, because the basics, you know, with the RMT, acupuncture, osteo sometimes as well, if you have a bit better plan. Those things thankfully are covered, but not necessarily work for everybody, because they're very specific, right? And people wishing for more services, more holistic oriented services, but not quite having the awareness or the information about what you're talking right now. I think that's very wonderful that we have an opportunity to bring that information to our viewers today. So take notes, definitely.
Yeah, take notes. I think too, for those people, I think it's really up to the practitioners to become proactive as well. To let their clients know that they can go to the NHPC website and fill out a form that goes directly to an insurance company that says, I would like these services covered. Do note that as your coverage increases, so does your premium. So there comes a time where I would say, you know, everybody having a base coverage, you know, going to see your dentist, doing your preventative medical care, allowing yourself to get some prescriptions, glasses, you know, whatever comes with that basic coverage. I think that each and every person can benefit from that.
Yes.
Because they may use it at one time or another. But to go beyond that basic coverage, you're going to have to start to decide how much you're going to give a company that you might not use. And if you're going to get that coverage, for heaven's sakes, use it. You know, if you're going to pay that $300 a month, then book your sessions. Be proactive. Take control of your own health. You have the right. I paid for that. And think about that every time that money comes off your paycheck. Allow that to be a reminder to yourself to say, I need to book my session.
Yes. Because
that session is now covered. That session belongs to me because I paid for it. And that is up to practitioners to tell people too. You know, talk to your employer. Ask if they can get flex plans. Ask if your plan can also include holistic services. And do note that most of these plans, if they're going to include holistic services, the person has to be registered in one way or another. They either have to be professionally insured with professional liability, or they have to have registered with the NHPC or the STA, which is the Shiatsu Therapy Association. They have to have registered somewhere, or they have to have a registered title where they follow a code of ethics, they follow a code of practice, and they know exactly what their realm of practice is, and they don't practice outside of it. So note that if you do really advocate for yourself to get these flex plans, you are only going to be able to use them with practitioners that have some sort of coverage registration or belong to some sort of professional group. And alternatively, if you don't want the money taken off your paycheck and you want to make your own flex plan, my advice to people, open up a separate bank account and have a certain amount of money from your regular checking account transfer into that bank account, which does not have a card on it, does not have a checkbook on it, and you must transfer the money in order to use it. So you can set up an automatic transfer. You can have your regular banking account, which you use for everyday purchases, etc., which your paycheck goes into, and you can set it up so that the day your paycheck goes in, the next day, $100 transfers out into this other bank account. And that money sits there. That money has to be physically transferred by you. So you know that money's there. You've got that. Book your appointment, pay for your appointment, transfer the money back into your user account.
Well, that kind of loops us around.
You set your own flex plan.
It loops us around into being that proactive person, individual in your own life, taking the reins and responsibility for your own health, even with how you manage your energy, aka money, because money is energy.
Money is energy.
We can exchange and trade it for anything in life at this point. And choosing consciously, right, how to use that energy and how to be responsible with it.
Yeah.
Whilst taking care of your own health and I guess practicing preventative medicine. So our poor Western hospitals are not overloaded as much anymore, because I've been actually a couple of days ago, I've had some sessions with nurses, with registered nurses, and oh my God, poor ladies, they're just swamped.
They are.
They're just crazy swamped. They're working overtime, they're working extra shifts, and there's just not enough staffing going right now, and people are just coming in with what seems to be like crazy conditions where they need that intensive care, where they brought it. I mean, they just sat on it, I guess, for so long, denying and not listening for their own bodies, where they don't have any other option, right? So giving yourself that option and taking that responsibility of, it's like, I guess I always say, it's like the car, you know, you want to go change your oil once in a while, you want to change your braking pads, you want to check this, check that, do just general maintenance. And that's where I think holistic medicine truly shines as the preventative medicine of it all.
Yeah. I would say that there's two types of care. And I think this is a great topic for us to get into next. What is health care and what is sick care?
Okay.
Okay, health care is about staying healthy. Sick care is what you need when something happens and you can't stay healthy. And I think if we put a little more effort into our health care system, the way that it is termed in staying healthy, being proactive, taking responsibility for your own health, finding avenues that you can use to increase your own health benefits, you're going to take that sick care and you're going to reduce it. Because, as you say, you're not going to keep going into that denial and that, I'll just leave it because it's not that bad. Instead, find things at their beginning, be aware of changes that are happening with you. Allow yourself to seek out things that you really find fulfilling, things that nurture you, things that nourish you. And then you're going to find that you're less and less in that system of sick care. And that's where our medical system is, unfortunately, we are burning them out. You know, there are so many of us that are, and you know, that includes all of us at one time or another in our lives. We run head on into the wall because we aren't taking care of ourselves. And you know, I'm a good example of that. I am that AAA type personality that will just push, and then hit a wall and fall over and go, oops, geez, I need help now. And I'm a holistic practitioner, so you can imagine what it's like for people that you know, just say, you know, I'll take care of it when I'm dead on my, well, some people actually say I'll take care of it when I'm dead. You know, I'll slow down when I'm dead. But yeah, you know, that's something that I think is a great topic for people to look at. What is healthcare and what is sick care? What can I do as an individual, as a proactive, empowered person to take back control of my health? Because your health belongs to you. It doesn't belong to your doctor. It doesn't belong to your holistic practitioner. It doesn't belong to anybody else. It belongs to you. And the decisions and the choices you make, I mean, sometimes, you know, there are other factors, energetic factors, where we need to learn or discover something, but ultimately our health belongs to us. And so there's no reason why we shouldn't take that and say, how do I want this to look?
Hooray for that, yes.
To take care of this, right? Because it's mine. So we take care of our cars. We take care of our homes. We, you know, have all of these devices that allow us to do things. And technology is there, by the way, for you to set up yourself that little healthcare account. The technology exists. We just have to take advantage of it, take that step forward and do it.
Because I truly, you know, personally, if God forbids I get into whatever accident where as you mentioned earlier, my arm gets torn off or broken, you know, I want that availability, right? I want that space in the hospital. I want a doctor to have time and not to be overworked and stressed and just feeling crazy and detached, honestly, because you can get so sick of it, you know, taking care of everybody else. It's draining. I've done it too, where you just do too much for other people, taking care of their health and just trying to heal them and do, you know, just solve all of their issues and problems. And then you don't have energy for yourself as well. Right. And then mistakes happen inevitably. But that also kind of brings me to the question of, you've mentioned about the system, the sick care, and the insurance money that are available for different pharmacy, right? Medicine out there. What is your opinion on, there is quite trendy thing these days also that I'm observing, you know, this whole theory of this is a big business, right? The big pharma is there to get your money and to get your health. And is it, because yet again, we are finding that middle path in the world of extremes. Is it, yet again, is it just another attempt to take that responsibility off yourself and blame someone else for things happening? Or is it, or is it a kind of a genuine trend that is out there that, big businesses build on that, so there's not quite interest to stimulate preventative care and medicine because that will inevitably take the money away from the big business?
Well, I guess you've got to look at both sides of that, right? I mean, if you're sitting there in a corporate structure and you stand to lose millions of dollars or billions of dollars in some cases because people take control of their health, there is that potential for you to abuse your position. And I'm sure it happens. I don't really know. I know people that go into medicine. I know people that go into pharmacy. I know people that go into, even doing research for curing things or, using medicine to create a better life for someone. I don't think anybody goes into it with the intention or a conspiracy that they're going to rule the world by hooking everybody on their drug. I'm not sure that conspiracy exists. Is there a potential for mismanagement? Yes. Is there a potential for greed? Absolutely. But so is there in any world. I've seen cases where people elevate themselves to a high level of followers, and so then they start charging $5,000 or $10,000 just to have an audience with them for an hour. Is that a potential for abuse of that time? Possibly, or is that somebody saying this is my self-worth? So there's always so many different viewpoints. There is the viewpoint of the person producing. There's the viewpoint of the person that's receiving. And then there's reality in between. If there were no call for drugs or medications, there would be no drug companies. If there were, if everybody was absolutely, totally self-responsible for their health, you are still going to get outside pernicious influences. There's viruses out there. There's all kinds of things out there that it doesn't matter how responsible I am for my own health, I can't overcome by myself. There are means and methods for us not to use drugs, to use less drugs. If we have a headache, do we necessarily need to take a drug? Or can we do other things? And I think the potential for misuse is always there. I also do think the potential for a victimized mentality is always there. But those two extremes are viewpoints. They are points that are followed by somebody and believed by somebody, and then there's a reality in the middle. And reality may dictate that without those people creating antibiotics, a lot more people would have died. And so does that necessarily mean that those companies are abusing that? Some of them do. But they're not all abusing it. And not everybody who's creating an antibiotic for the next big bacterium, because do remember, viruses and bacteria are living things. They're like people. We're the greatest virus the earth has ever had. Look at every time it tries to wipe us out, how we adapt.
Yes.
And we move forward, right? And that is the same with every living thing on this planet. A bacterium does not set out from its inception to die. It sets out to adapt. So does a virus. So all of these researchers, all of the money that's going into it, that is our human way of adapting to something else that is adapting to us and that can kill us. And that's the reality of it. And then you start to look at those two viewpoints from there. So I do believe there is, there's a high scope in humanity for greed. There's a high scope for misuse and abuse. There is also altruism, where people, doctors, nurses, they go in to help. They don't, I've never heard anybody go to medical school and gain the debt that they get. I mean, you come out of medical school with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And I've never heard anybody going in saying, I'm going to do this because I want to come out with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt and have to charge a lot of money and hopefully make money. They go into it saying they want to help people. And then somewhere along the way, you get caught up in the machine. And I think that's where we're all at right now. Even if you look at the advantages we have with technology and the machine of technology, we could all very easily decide that the only thing we ever do is technology, right?
And I guess just to mirror it from you, it is a truly empowering thing that one can attempt, is to just look at things just the way they are, not to give them neither positive nor negative connotation or charge, and just take it at face value. This exists right now. And it's up to me and it's my choice. How am I gonna respond to it, interact with it, and which choices I should be taking? Because I've been, still catching myself on a path where sometimes I feel like I don't have a choice, but I always do. You can always get yourself in the corner of misfortune or, blame and guilt, and just giving away your responsibility, your own strength onto someone else, just because it's easy. Again, it makes us this innocent little helpless children, and someone else is doing bad things to us, and but taking that back and also bringing peace with it. There's just lots of peace and contentment and relaxation that comes with that really helped me to take the best possible decisions for myself in bettering myself in whatever way I chose to at the time, right? So I'm really wishing, and just wishing for more people to find that pause and to bring that sense of questioning rather than judgment,
And don't be too hard on yourself. That there is nobody out there. The Dalai Lama even says he gets up and he puts his socks on one foot at a time, and sometimes it's hard to bend over. Right? We are human. And I think we learn by process and repetition. So are you going to react to things? You are programmed and built to react to things. That is how we survive. If you never reacted to anything, that car speeding towards you would not see you jumping out of the way. Oh, I'm going to be zen and it just is what it is. It's neither good nor bad. Well, it's going to hit you and kill you, right? So you need to react. And those who've played Magic with me know how much I can react. By golly, I'm going to react. And then I say to myself, oh, come on, whatever. This isn't that bad. But we react first, and then we're aware, and then we investigate, and then we come to that pause, that non-identification. Well, you know what? This is really neither good nor bad. It simply is. What's my next step? And I think if we can leave people with that, that's holistic. That is holistic. Taking control of the reaction, finding the awareness to know what's going on, investigating our avenues, and then being in that place that says, it's my choice, whether I move left or right or forward. And it's my choice how I react to this. And darn it, you can have a good, solid reaction. Don't be afraid of your emotions, but always know that they belong to you, and whatever you do with them, you're responsible for. So, and I think that to me is what holistics really is. It's about being able to be in this world in a way where we interact with it and we find balance and a path forward.
And it really teaches us to find that empathy to other people's choices too. And I think for me personally, the 2020 events were the big teacher for that, where it wasn't necessary, because in my own experience, you know, for some people it was very helpful to take the injection at the time. And for many people it was straight up death as well. And just truly listening to your own body and being okay to choosing for yourself and being okay with another person's choice for their own health benefit, because it seems like we're all fairly different that way.
And I think we're individuals, right? Our path leads us to where we need to be. And I also truly, and this is, you know, a subject that we were going to be broaching into in the near future, is your mind sets the tone. So what you believe, you receive. And, you know, if you have a strong belief about something, you can actually physically change the way your body reacts to it. So we can use our minds. And, you know, that there's a lot of practices out there, mantra, you know, chanting, all of these things that create patterns that allow us to live within those patterns. So, you know, what I can say to people is the best thing that you can do is try and stay positive. You are going to react. You are going to end up in that bottom pit of negativity every once in a while, and you're normal. That's normal. It's okay to have a negative reaction. It's okay to say, hey, I don't like the train that's coming at me. I think I'm going to jump out of the way. It's perfectly okay to do that. Where you go from there, that's your karma. That's your responsibility, and that's how you're going to move through this world. So, you know, if you continue to carry it with you as something that is going to stop you, then that's what it's going to be. And I think this is a good topic for us to look towards in the future, is how to deal with those reactions.
Well, it seems like we're having quite a good amount of fascinating topics ahead of us. And for yourself, the viewer, to tune in for your own enjoyment, for your education, and just hanging out with us too, listening to the stories. And I think that would be good for us to wrap up on this note. And thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you. I look forward to our next conversation. You know, some of this may be helpful, some of it may be gibberish, but we hope you enjoyed it. And we'll try and find some really interesting topics. See you next time.
Bye-bye.